the dark side of therapy. This is Eric Nance, and yeah, today's a very special day because we've got a body language expert on with us, Mark Bowden. And my thought has always been mental health and body language don't necessarily coincide very well. We don't talk about it a whole lot, and because I sort of like to be on the fringe of things, I thought I want to get a body language expert on here, help educate me about can we actually use this in mental health evaluation, and if I'm barking up the wrong tree, well, Mark will let me know that too. So Mark, thank you very much for coming on.
Eric, it's a great pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
You are welcome. So here's my biggest fear. I was telling my producer about this. I thought, what if I'm lying the entire time and I don't even know it and Mark knows it and he calls me out halfway through? What do I do?
Well, is that likely to happen though? Because, you know, you're coming to this interview with the best intentions. If you are economical with the truth, my guess will be there's some good reasons behind it, and so I might just let you continue with that because there might be an end game that I don't see, you know, there. But look, the whole thing is why would you? I mean, actually, help me out. Why would you lie during this interview? And
I wouldn't. And what I learned from Truth and Lies is context means everything. And I have absolutely no reason to lie. But I loved your response to that. That makes me feel a lot more warm and fuzzy inside. So, Mark, I want to know, you always seem like you're having fun. When I watch you present or talk to people, you look like you're having fun every step of the way. How do you do that?
Look, well, so number one, let me just take you through why it's important, I think, to project and create this idea of fun, as you call it, which isn't not a bad title for it throughout this.
Yeah.
Our talk today, and as it is whenever I'm in a media situation, it has to be entertaining. And by entertaining, I mean from the old medieval Latin word entretenere, to hold together. We've got to hold together an idea, because if we can't hold this idea together, how is the viewer, the listener, going to hold it with us? If we can't do it, how can they do it? So I need to entertain you, you need to entertain me, and so that might project to people and yourself as like having fun. That's okay, having a good time. What I'm trying to do is entertain right now, which means I've got to lift my energy and my performance to a level where that's more likely to happen. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense, because when I talk to clients, I do the same thing. I think I'm fairly entertaining, I hope, but it's never dull and boring. And maybe sometimes I get more enthusiastic than I should, but I think it's that same kind of thing. There needs to be an interchange, and I hadn't really thought about that. But yeah, I don't want to keep things dull, because dull doesn't work for me. I'm pretty sure it doesn't work for you.
And the second part of that question, I think, was like, how are you doing that? And,
yes.
And here's how I'm doing it. I play a game called My Friend's Amazing. Okay, so all the time I'm on this interview with you, I'm thinking to myself, this guy's amazing. What a great question. Oh, what a great interchange. You're sure. Part of my brain at the same time could be going, where's this going? Why did he ask that question? What's going on there? What are all those books in the background? Why all the wood happening there? Oh, those are big headphones. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff going on. But I consciously create this sense of my friend's amazing. I'm consciously creating the sense of my friend's viewers are amazing. My friend's listeners here, the listeners here, I love these listeners. They're amazing. Why? Because I want to entertain, because I want you to get the ideas, because I think the ideas are important. That's what I'm doing.
I like that. I watched a TED Talk once. I think her name was Laura Sicola, and she talked about people would say, I have a lot of passion for what I do. And she looks at them and she would say, really? Because it ain't coming through in your presentation. And then most people kind of put all the effort in the PowerPoint and they kind of wing it. And I thought, I think there's some truth to that. Do you think there's some truth to that?
Oh, totally. It's like, what plate are you serving the food up on? How's the table laid out? Was it welcoming when you invited those guests through the door?
Yes.
Because it doesn't matter how good the soup is and how nutritious, if there isn't a welcome as you come through the door, it's going to frame the experience of the soup.
Right.
essentially, to the extent that you might not even want to eat. You know, it's like, "Oh, I don't fancy the soup actually." So I think it's so important, the frame that you put round stuff so that people get the content. Now, does that mean they could still be disappointed by the content? Yeah, I might be incredibly entertaining, but you might think about my content, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about,
Right.
a complete idiot and a
Right.
complete chancer. Okay, fine, you'll be disappointed. My hope is that you'll be delighted. I'm trying to make you delighted, which is, I was so invited into this conversation, and the content, the ideas were exceptional. How great is that? That's what I'm trying to produce. If that doesn't happen, well, I'm not even going to apologize. It's just the way it is. You know, I'm just me. This is what I do.
Well, and I would think audiences appreciate being thrilled and entertained, even if the content wasn't great, as opposed to great content that nobody cares about because the presenter is so dull. I had no idea we would talk about this, but I'm glad we are talking about it because I've got some upcoming presentations, and I don't want to be dull. So this is a good warm-up for me. Mark, you've written books, bestsellers, you're a speaker, you're a business person, you're on the Behavior Panel, one of my all-time favorite shows. Is there a thing you've done that is your most favorite or kind of the thing that you most adore that you've achieved?
It's always what I'm doing at the time. It really is. It's always where I am and where I could get to next, rather than, oh, there's that thing in the past, if only I could keep on doing that, or I really hit the pinnacle there. I just think that would be a shame, wouldn't it? I mean, I've done a lot of brilliant work. I'm proud of the books that I've written. I'm proud of the videos that I make. But I would hope they're not the end of it. So I'm always kind of in the moment and looking forward.
So it doesn't stop. The train just keeps going. You're going to add to it and keep creating, basically.
Totally. Yeah. Look, if anything, I'm a creator. I'm, you know, if I wasn't doing this, I would be putting up shelves. I love putting up shelves because you're making something that wasn't there before, that does something that's helpful. So all I'm ever trying to do is make something new that is helpful in a place where there wasn't help, or from my point of view, there wasn't the right help, or the help could be better, you know? And so all I want at the end of the day is I can look at something and I can go, oh, I made that, and I think it was helpful.
Wow. See, to me, that's a very unique way of doing things, Mark. That had to be modeled for you, I'm guessing, in some ways. And you looked at it and said, that looks attractive to me, doing it this way as opposed to, you know, some other way.
You know what? I think you have to be right that it was modeled somewhere, but I'm not able at the moment to locate where exactly that was. I've had a lot of great mentors, a lot of people that I've modeled who've just been incredible at what they do. But there was a point where I did come across this idea, and it feels like it was mine, though it really can't be.
Right.
It feels like it was mine. That it was like, I just need to be helpful. I've just got to make stuff. I mean, I've always been a maker of stuff. I've always been creative and made stuff that wasn't already there.
Right.
And then I worked out, well, I think it was this. I was going, why are people liking this? Mm-hmm. Why do they like that piece of content and they don't like that piece of content?
Right.
You know, why has that piece of content gone viral and this piece of content hasn't? And I realized, oh, that piece of content that went viral, it's just really helpful. It's just all it is helpful.
Gotcha.
And just came across the idea of, well, I just need to be as helpful as I possibly can more of the time.
I think that's wonderful. And Mark, you do it with no arrogance. I mean, as I watch you interact with people, you treat everybody the same, which is to say you look interested and you know, someone talks to you and you're just so open. And I really appreciate that about you, because I've met people that aren't approachable, that are brilliant, and I don't want to talk to them because they're sort of a demeaning kind of presence. And context, I get it, maybe I'm missing something. But with you, it's pretty self-evident that you're a safe person to talk to.
Well, look, I'm not saying that is my innate, nature,
Right.
to
Right.
be totally open, and it's probably not. I mean, I'm going to be a little more. Being open is a job. Like
Right.
I have to do that on purpose. What I've realized is to do my job well, I need to purposely be more open more of the time. Because I've got some very strict ideas that I know work. And so it's very easy for me to get very aggressive about those ideas and go, look, just do this. And there's a value to that. There's absolutely a value to that, but that's not that entertaining. And what is more entertaining is if I'm more open to people, gets more people around the message. And then I say, hey, here's what you need to do. I think this will be really helpful. So what I think should be understood here is that nothing that I'm doing here is innate. If you think, hey, Mark's a really good entertainer, he's a really good communicator, he's got some really good ideas, gosh, the god of entertainment and ideas must have blessed him. No, I learned, I trained, I put into place systems that make sure that that is more likely to happen, and I do it on purpose.
So I'm thinking, if I've got a team of people I'm working with then and I want to bring them together to do something, it may not be my innate nature to communicate a certain way, but knowing how I need to communicate and learning how to do it. See, I think that's huge, Mark. I think a lot of people are scared of that because it goes outside their comfort, doesn't it? How dare I learn something or be something else?
Right. It does go outside their comfort. It also goes outside of some of the current orthodoxy around authenticity that says, hey, just be you, and the universe will fall into place for you. I'm like, no, that's not what I've experienced. That's not what I've experienced at a high level of leadership. At a high level of leadership where you're trying to lead people who are not aligned with you, who are not from your group, who don't automatically fall into your values, beliefs, rituals, customs, goals, concerns, signals. They don't understand your language. Right. If you want to lead those people, you better learn to be an even more incredible version of yourself that is able to pick and choose from a vocabulary of persona and not just go, well, life and genetics and the lords of nature deemed that I would be this person and I shall be that person and life will fall into place. No, you'll just keep meeting echo chambers of yourself.
Isn't that the truth? Absolutely. It's
the truth from my point of view, but it's not everybody's truth. I mean, I meet a whole bunch of people who go, no. I mean, authentic me, if I don't like it, I shouldn't do it. No, you should absolutely go and do it if you don't like it. Test it out.
Darren Hardy, publisher of Success Magazine, he says the difference between successful people and unsuccessful people is, successful people hate to do what it takes to succeed. They just do it anyway. I always think about that whenever I'm having one of those days. It's like, Nance, get up and do the thing you don't want to do, because the thing I don't want to do is always the thing I need to do. I sort of resent that, but it's true. It is absolutely truthful.
Totally. Every day that I go and speak in front of it, and I speak to big audiences and small audiences all over the world, I wake up every day that I'm doing that and go, you idiot. What have this is horrible. You've gone and said you'll talk in front of the people and you've taken money for it. They've already paid you. Now you have to go and do it, don't you? Look at the mess you've got yourself into. And people think I'm there and I love that. They say, you love being in front of the audience. And no, I don't. I'd rather not do it. I'd rather put up shelves. It's so much less risk.
So you've got some of the same self-talk a lot of us have when we are in front of audiences, or when we just don't want to do the work maybe that particular day.
Of course. Oh, I'm lazy just like everybody else. If you could pay me and I didn't do any work, I would take that option. Yeah. Any day of the week.
It would be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Mark, I want to jump into mental health now. We're going to have to do it, although this is so much fun. I've got a working theory that I wanted to bounce off you for a while, and this will either satiate my needs or you're going to tell me give it up. But when we do mental health assessment, we sort of jump into a lot of symptom clusters and a lot of Q&A, and then very quickly with people we throw out treatment modalities, cognitive behavioral, DBT, all these things. And I started to wonder at some point, we throw this stuff at people so quickly before people really even know themselves. And I wonder sometimes if there isn't an order of operations almost, and that's where body language, Mark, could come in. If we can help people understand themselves a bit better before we throw at them all the high-end techniques and strategies, I think we can actually do them some service there. That's my working theory. I'm dying to get your perspective.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I mean, that working theory would suggest if you know yourself better, you might have a better chance of better mental health.
Right.
I mean, so, and I think that's basically what you're saying. I would gamble on that theory. Now I know it's not going to be. There's going to be some extreme outliers to that.
Oh,
That's
absolutely.
Obvious. Yeah. So let's just exclude the outlier. Let's just exclude
Get
from
'em-
the
get 'em
conversation
outta here.
the extreme outliers. Okay, great. And there's going to be some people on the periphery of that. It's like the more they know themselves, the more horrible it might get for them. You say, okay, that's a possibility. Okay, I get that's a possibility, but starting down that journey of knowing yourself better, I think there can only be, for most people, more positives than negatives around that. Now let's bring in that non-verbal aspect of it.
Yes.
You know, to what extent can you observe a client or patient, whatever kind of category you're going to put them in, to what extent can you observe them and give your observation or help them give their observation about simple body language? Here's how I'm sitting, here's what my face is doing, here's the way I'm gesturing, here's the way I'm breathing at the moment, here's the way I'm sitting, which is affecting the way I'm breathing. Could that make things somewhat better quite immediately? Yeah, in my experience, yeah, it can. Now, is that a route to the rigor of classification of a mental health issue and going down? I'm not sure it replaces any of that rigor, because that rigor is in place because actually it works relatively well.
It works well enough, right?
It works
right.
well enough. But is there a place for helping a client or a patient observe their physical behavior and you be a sounding board for that and another observation? In my experience with my clients, it works incredibly well.
That's good to hear. And so let me be a little controversial, and maybe a lot controversial. So most therapists, I think, and I was in the same crowd here, were trained to sort of meet the client where they're at, which in my mind a lot of times means that if they say it, we have to, let their truth kind of ring true. And then I got trained in personality disorders, Mark. I learned a whole new different way of working with people, which is they're lying most of the time. But I tend to think there is this stigma against challenging a client that way, in the same way that we challenge their memories, because that's kind of a no-no too. If they remember it, I've heard you talk about trauma on your show. Anybody can say they're traumatized, but do we actually know what happened? Elizabeth Loftus out of UCLA did a lot of research on memory with clients and how we can actually put false memories into clients. So I just find this whole thing very interesting, Mark, because I'm a truth seeker. I just want to get to the truth of what's going on. But again, I think we sometimes put the cart before the horse, and we do try to fix and we try to validate before the truth is even on the table.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. I mean, my best and most helpful response to that, I think, is that certainly in the work that I do, there is that thing of I have to be a trusted advisor and almost kind of friend. So I have to keep that persona there. Okay. Now, at the same time, I can give other people's points of views that could be challenging. Yeah.
Right.
So I might be able to say, hey, look, I totally buy what you're saying. And I get why you'd be saying it. But I'm thinking about some people out there, and I might name those people or name those category of people. And I might say, they would call you out on that. Right. They would say, so now I'm able to be the advocate of the devil's advocate. I mean, it's not me. I mean, I'm just telling you about some other devil's advocate out there that would challenge you on that.
Absolutely. And then and we use those techniques in personality disorder work because then we're out of the scene. We don't have to worry about it. Yeah, exactly. this isn't right. This isn't my idea. It was in Time magazine, and they think it works. But yeah, but then you're sort of off the table for being accountable to that. So yeah, I think that's a very good point.
Well, I say, and I think, you know, what we're offering there is a safety of proximity. Like this viewpoint is not in the room with you right now.
Right.
It's outside, you know, and I might even use my body language, gesture outside of the room, them out there. You know, I might make it, and you're still safe with me. So if you want to talk about that being possibly true, you know, you're safe with me. So I think there's body language that can be used there as well as the help in all of this to distance that aggressive comment.
And that works really well if you're with somebody that's, you know, able to be triggered very quickly. You can kind of put it in that there and then context. I wanted to say too, Mark, when I was reading your book, I read the drama triangle and the different drama switches. That is one of the fundamental treatment components of personality disorders. And so when I read that and I saw the victim and the persecutor, then I really felt like, yeah, Mark is just so good at this stuff, because a lot of people, this is not known to them, and it's not known when they work with difficult clients. But I've had a lot of drama switches done to me. I've gone from the rescuer to the persecutor pretty quick. And now that I know what that is, it's just so helpful. So I want to say that part of the book really, really resonated with me.
Yeah, I love that model. I think it's a brilliant model. Like every model, it's utterly inaccurate, but helpful. I mean, it's like, you know, life isn't actually just full of, you know, victims.
It's not all triangles, is it?
It's not all triangles. But if you can view it for a moment as a drama triangle, there's a clarity that can come that can give you a possible next step. It gives you, okay, here's what I can try. And all we're ever trying to do is use technique to get closer to the truth,
Right.
in a helpful manner.
Absolutely.
That's all. So yeah, I love the drama triangle. If you're listening or watching this and you haven't come across that, it's so easy to pick up. Such a great tool. Go get it.
And I think especially for new clinicians, Mark, which is really who we're speaking to, new clinicians, new graduates, they're going to end up doing something in a session and the client is going to get very angry. They're not going to know what happened. Oh, drama switch, I'm a persecutor now. That's what happened. It's not personal. This would happen with anybody that said that about them. But if they don't know it, they're going to feel like, I've done something terribly wrong. No. You have set off whatever personality deficits are there. You just didn't know that you did it.
But here's the other side to this, is I will play characters in the drama triangle. I'll let the person know. I'll say, hey, look, just to be the victim here in this situation that's going on, now I'll take that role. And then I'll switch to another. So they get to try out, because they will then get pushed around.
I see.
Then they'll get to try it out.
Okay.
And then you might be able to go, hey, you know, it felt like, you know, when I said, hey, I'm the victim, suddenly you started to get quite aggressive from my point of view. How did that feel? Did that feel good or that feel bad to you? So then they're trying out these different, you know, shoes, trying on different hats. Because it's...
I like that. I would love to be able to say, well, I'm the persecutor now. Let's kind of see how that works. I never thought about doing it, but I like how you say try out different characters, because that goes back to play too, I think, doesn't it?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Well, it goes back to me to this idea of persona or self. And I don't know what your ideas of persona and self are, or anybody listening. It's quite a complex thing, isn't it?
It is.
But here's the way I view it. Is I view the self as kind of like a diamond, and it has lots of facets. You know, there's lots of angles on it. And in different situations, it turns and picks up lights on different areas, and different areas shine.
Right.
And so, you know, in my mind, you can bring certain facets forward and go, okay, I'm going to be a bit more like this aspect of myself for this situation. Like it's all me, but I'm going to try this, you know, a little bit more forward. I think at certain times you can go, I'm going to try on being this type of person. And that may often feel like, wow, I'm putting on an act, but you're not, because you can't do anything that you didn't already have. The brain's not that clever. It doesn't really do anything it doesn't already know, and it only knows it because it is it. So even that stuff that you go, oh, I'm going to be a bit like this, I don't think that's really me. It's like, it is. It's just so, in the background that it can be fun to let it bring it out and put it in the light a bit and see how it shines,
Well, I think this means, Mark, I can stop feeling guilty in therapy having so much fun and doing my voices. I mean, that...
I won't feel guilty about that at all, because look, the first therapists were the tellers of stories.
Yes.
And because it's all a story does is go, look, imagine if. I'm not saying this is true.
Right.
But imagine if. And of course, what the human being does, hearing that story, goes, yeah, actually, it feels a little bit true to me. And we have to do the voices to make it more real or to make it less real. Because we have to make the story safe. We have to make that dangerous thing safe enough that people will go, oh yeah, what if I am really that type of person? I mean, I'm not, because that type of person has a silly voice. I'm not. But I get what's happening here. I will enter into the possibility that you're really talking about me in your story. Right. So I got no problem with these silly voices. They're probably quite helpful.
Well, I think so. I'm not saying I'm very good at them, but you throw out some Christopher Walken once in a while, it works pretty good. Mark, I've got a couple more questions. One of the big ones is, do colleges reach out to you, schools of social work or psychology, to come in and speak to students about body language, getting them better at reading client body language?
Not a huge amount.
Really?
Now and again, I have worked a lot with individual practitioners in your area. And that's a one-to-one thing where they want to get adept at that, often adept with how they might be able to use body language to help clients, how they might be able to use it themselves,
right,
to have more to do the job better themselves by being in way more control in the right way of the environment and what they're doing. But in terms of colleges and schools, no, I would really say, there have been practitioner groups.
Yep.
But when it comes to those schools that might certify, or no, not at all.
I think that's a shame, Mark. I really do. I was thinking that, come on, you would say, yeah, they reach out all the time. Isn't that interesting? Well, I have my hopes, but I have my doubts, because I don't think it's a priority, and I think so much is put into assessment, and this is a pretty big piece of assessment. So I'm really glad to know that. I want to ask you a couple fun questions, and I know context is everything, but when a husband and wife are going through a spat or whatever, and one of them says, "I'm fine." Mark, what does that usually mean when somebody says, "I'm fine"?
Well, when you said it like that, I heard tension in your voice at the end, and yeah, more the tension than the upward inflection. Yeah, if there's a "I'm fine" downward intention, that's pretty instructional. Like, don't stand off, don't I'm fine. It's like, ask a little bit more,
right?
Right.
Ask again. So I might go, really, tell me more. I'm fine. Okay, let me know when you want to talk about this. I'm fine.
Right.
Like just a gliding, on a platform, a steady inflection. Okay, then it's something else. So I might go, okay, so what else?
Okay, that's good to know, because I usually do that when my clients tell me they're fine, because it seems a little disingenuous to me. So here's another example. When you go to a car lot and you ask the car person, what color does this come in? And the car dealer ends up telling you a story for about 15 minutes that had nothing to do with the color of the car, and you just don't care anymore. Clients will do that too sometimes. It's what I call over-explaining. And I'll say to them, this is really confusing. And clients will say, well, I'm just trying to help you understand. And I say, the more you talk, the less I understand. Mark, context specific, is this a deceptive technique to hide the truth?
It may not be consciously deceptive in any way whatsoever.
Okay.
It could be the unconscious protecting. And so,
Okay.
and how you intervene into that could be, depends on person to person. So a lot of the situations that I'm in, I'm just able to go, you know what? Yeah, I get all of that. But my question was,
Right.
and I'll bring them back because the very fact that they haven't answered the question means there's something down there that we need to get to. Often you'll find they'll start talking about somebody else.
Absolutely.
So what about you? Tell me about you. And well, they. So okay, and I'll often go, yeah, they're not here. So back to you. Answer that question.
I find too, Mark, you can sometimes say things like, I don't think I'm smart enough to hear. You're going to have to really dumb this down, for lack of a better word. And that sometimes works, explain it to me like I'm 4.
But that's good to know that there is.
Yeah,
something
I'm like you. I'll often go, look, I'm really smart, but I just don't get this.
Right.
I'm confused. Help me.
Right.
So I'll often ask for help. Help me understand.
And it kind of helps build the ego up a little bit too. so in some ways we're doing something good there too. So Mark, my final question for you is, how do you avoid burnout? Because this is something that everybody in my field struggles with, that the new clinicians are going to struggle with. You don't seem burnt out in the least.
What's the secret?
Care about the right stuff. Stop caring about the stuff that doesn't matter. I'm sure somebody said that somewhere. I'm sure there's a book called that or something along those lines. Probably is. But it seems true to me, is that I will openly say to people, I just don't care about that. And that's partly my protection to go, look, I need to keep focused on what, from my point of view, matters most to help people most.
Gotcha.
And that means that most stuff doesn't matter.
Right.
If I'm trying to help you today, most stuff on the planet has no bearing on it. So I'm not concerned. I'm not thinking about it. It's not on my mind. If you bring it up, I'm like, I don't care about that. Let's just hit the thing that I actually care about, that I think I can bring some value on. So it's caring most about the stuff that to be true matters most in these situations. And I know it's very easy, especially in today's climate and culture, to go, but everything matters.
Right.
Yes, it does. But that's not helpful. That isn't helpful to the person who needs your help right now.
I think you bring up an amazing point, and I will resonate with this, because I try to do too much, and I know it's important. I really do, and unfortunately, I find myself trying to do way too much and trying to succeed way too much, and kind of fighting against the grain. But I like that you said that, because I know what's important to me, and I think just knowing that, that's going to be one of my takeaways today. I know what's important to me, so thank you very much for that. Mark, it has been just, I cannot tell you what a treat to have you here today, and the authenticity, and you were fun. It was everything I wanted it to be. I'd love to do it again sometime. And just know that you're going to benefit a lot of young clinicians and new graduates who, I think, again, we're hitting upon some stuff now we know they're just not getting other places. And they need to get this stuff, because this is stuff they're not going to get anywhere else. They're going to have to dig for it. And if we can be, stewards of that, helping them, get the stuff that's hard to get to, I think we have done our jobs. So thank you for assisting me in that so very much.
Oh, my pleasure. Look, if this has been useful to people listening and watching, let us know. I will always come back and chat with you. All I'm trying to do is help. So let us know if it's been helpful.
Mark, absolutely. Thank you so much. And again, this has been Eric Nance with Mark Bowden on the Dark Side of Therapy, talking about body language and learning a lot. If you like this video, please hit like. And as always, please subscribe. Again, Mark, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your fall.
Bye now.
All right. Bye-bye.